In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the cameras on the new iPhone 13. So before we get into looking at the photos and videos I've taken, let's first go over the specs of the cameras. This phone is equipped with a wide, ultra wide, and selfie camera. All of these cameras are 12 megapixels, except for in a few instances, which we'll get to later. So let's get into looking at the photos. We'll start with the wide camera. So in general, this camera takes outstanding photos, and it's the one you'll be using most of the time. On the screen now, you'll be seeing a bunch of photos that I've taken over the course of the last 2 weeks. Overall, it's just an outstanding camera and far better than the 6S that I upgraded from. But it's not perfect. As you can see in this photo here, you can get some weird things happening with it aggressively blurring in the wrong spots of the photo. So this could just be that the lens was too close, but this photo looks very unnatural and like that blur was added as a processing thing, and it looks very obvious that it's kind of an error. However, sometimes it also turns out perfectly fine, like you can see in this photo. The blurring looks way more natural and like it's meant to be there. Granted, a lot of this is being done in software, so you're always going to be able to find slight errors where it messes up. All the photos have surprisingly realistic color, although it tends to be a little more vibrant than it is in real life. However, you can use the new photographic styles feature to change how you want the colors to appear, although I haven't really used this as I find the default profile to be completely fine. However, let me know what you think down in the comments below if you have a preference. This close-up photo is probably one of the favorites that I've done. The blurring in it turned out really nicely and looks super natural, and the detail in the leaf is pretty outstanding. However, one thing to note is since all of these sensors are 12 megapixels, the second you zoom in, everything becomes a blurry mess and is kind of pretty unusable. So that's just something to be wary of. And of course, every video needs photos of cats. So here you go, here's a few photos of my cat. This photo in general looks very, very good with a lot of detail in the fur. However, as you can see in that small part behind his ear, it's kind of become a little bit of a pixelated mess. And this actually happened to me in a video I was shooting to put in this video on my dad's iPhone 13, and it turned my black t-shirt into a pixelated mess too. I don't know if this is a common problem, but it seemed to happen to me every now and then, so just something to be aware of. This photo is my personal favorite. There's so much detail in the rust, and you can even see the machining marks on the lock, as well as the fact that the background blurring has been done really nicely, probably because there's a really hard edge bordering the background. Also, none of these photos I've shown so far have been edited at all, and none of the others I'll show have been. Now, I didn't take as many individual photos with the ultra wide because it's more useful in only a few situations where you can't walk back far enough to capture it all with the main lens, or say you're doing a group photo and you're trying to fit everyone in without walking 10 meters away. So I only have a couple photos taken with this lens, but rest assured it is something you will probably end up using a lot more than you expect, even if it's only for, say, 1 in 10 photos. So in this photo with the footpath, I was standing just off the edge of the footpath, and it still managed to capture about half of it in the photo. So this shows pretty well how wide this lens actually is. So now you're seeing a series of 3 photos. One was taken on my old 6S, one was taken on the wide camera of the 13, and the other on the ultra wide. You can clearly see the difference between the wide and the ultra wide in here. You can also see how many upgrades I've made to the cameras in the last 6 years combined. The photo from the 6S overall just looks a whole lot darker and more grainy too, whereas the 13 captures the sunlight way better in this and lights the image better. So much more clarity, even though they're both 12 megapixel sensors, which goes to show how just because it says 12 megapixel on a piece of paper doesn't necessarily reflect how the photos are going to be taken by the camera. So I pretty much never take selfies, but I imagine a lot of you watching this video probably do. So here's one that I took of myself, probably the first one in like absolutely forever. And I'd say it's pretty good for a selfie camera actually. I'm very impressed there's that little of a difference between the rear wide camera and the selfie camera. It makes the photos overall look a lot more consistent. However, the selfie camera isn't quite as good as the rear cameras, obviously due to its smaller size. It did seem to be applying kind of like a smoothing effect to my skin though, because my skin doesn't look that good in real life. One of the features of the selfie camera is portrait mode, and I believe this was also a feature on last year's phones, but I'll talk about it anyway. This feature to me seems a little more gimmicky than pretty much anything else about the cameras. I've taken a whole ton of the same photos using each of the different profiles in normal light and in low light. So I'll put all those on the screen right now. You can judge for yourself, but personally I don't really think it looks that great. And also photos in portrait mode aren't 12 megapixels, they go down to 7. So you're not even getting the same level of detail from an already not super high resolution camera. So let's shift our focus to the video for a minute. I've taken 2 videos of the exact same thing, one using the wide camera and one using the ultra wide, which you're looking at right now. The video from them is very consistent, except for I found that in low light, the ultra wide looks pretty terrible. So if you're going to be using your phone a lot in low light for video, I would recommend going to the Pro model, which got a lot of upgrades to that. The stabilization on the video is also impressively good. Enabled by the sensor shift functionality that it was carried over from last year's 12 Pro into the normal 13s, you can get really good stabilization, as you're seeing right now. I was really impressed when I looked at this, and it does a really good job considering I was walking not particularly slowly throughout all of this too. Finally, let's talk about cinematic mode. For a lot of people, this has been super exciting, myself included. Literally the first thing I did when I took this phone out of the box, after setting it up of course, and putting a screen protector and a case on, because I do that, you know, I went straight to testing out cinematic mode. And I'd say it's definitely better than portrait mode. It does a really good job in certain circumstances of making stuff look outstanding, but a lot of the time you'll find that it takes too long to adjust focus, or well, software adjusts the focus between 2 points. Overall, it's decent and I'd use it. In fact, this entire video you've been watching is shot on the front camera of my iPhone using inbuilt audio in cinematic mode. So if you thought this video looked good, well, you'll probably like the cameras on the iPhone 13. So what's my verdict? Well, if you're upgrading from an older phone, such as one from maybe 3 or 4 years ago, you'll likely be blown away by the quality that you can achieve with this thing. It's truly impressive how far mobile cameras have come. Granted, it's no DSLR replacement, as they're still trying to work out how to incorporate the kind of big camera look onto such a tiny camera. I'm really excited to see where this technology will go in the future, because maybe one day it will be possible to achieve the DSLR look on a phone camera using processing, and I think that would be really great. But what you've got to consider is this. When you're buying this phone, you're getting the flagship photo and video quality. In fact, iPhones have had the best video for a while now, and close to, if not the best, photos. So, you need to really consider, do you need the best photos and the best videos from your phone? Because this phone isn't cheap. At least in Australia, it's quite a bit more than it costs relatively in the US. But if you really want the best photo and video quality, or if you're, say, going on a holiday and want to take some awesome photos and videos to remember forever, then absolutely, go for it. You're going to get impressive quality and you won't be disappointed. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and if you own an iPhone 13, how are the cameras? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll link a Google Drive folder in the description below with all the photos and videos that I've taken, at least until my Google Drive fills up. So if you want anything from there, go download it right now. A like and a sub would be appreciated, and hopefully I'll see you guys in another video. Goodbye.